Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Hitesh, and today we are going to decode, one of the most misunderstood topics in Android, that is launch modes. Okay, and I promise by the end of this video, you will be thinking, "Arey yaar, itna simple tha kya?" So let's get into it. Okay, so the agenda for this video or tutorial, I would say, is like a quick roadmap so that you know what is coming, what launch modes actually are, and what are the different types of launch modes like standard, SingleTop, SingleTask, and SingleInstance. Then activity stack real examples, and layman analogies that you will never forget. Then when to use which mode, and the final takeaways, the big differences that matters. So we will start with what are launch modes first. Basically, launch modes tell Android how to launch an activity when you call start activity. Okay, so do we create a new instance whenever we are launching any activity, or do we reuse an old one, or we bring something forward? So these are the questions about launch modes. Okay, like think of launch modes like rules for how many times you can open the same page in a browser. Sometimes we want multiple tabs, sometimes we want only one, and sometimes we want a completely separate window. So that is what the launch mode is basically about. Okay, now we will understand what is a standard mode, the default one. It's a default mode. Every start activity would basically create a new instance. Okay, like for example, there's a stack of ABC, and then we want to start B again. So instead, if B is already on the top, then also it will create a new instance. Even if B is not on the top, C is there on the top, it will create a new instance. So that is what the standard mode is about. It will keep on creating a new instance no matter if that particular activity is already there on top of that instance. So this is the example of XML, how we call the activity in the manifest file. Okay, so standard is basically that friend who keeps opening new Chrome tabs for everything. You want to Google one thing, they open 10 tabs. That is what the standard mode is about. Okay, and if you launch an activity 5 times, then Android says as you wish sir, and creates 5 separate instances. Okay, like for example, you can imagine your Instagram. You are in Instagram, and then there is a home page followed by profile and followed by reels. So now you tap someone's profile again, boom, another profile activity is added. So that's a standard mode for us. Okay, now we talk about the SingleTop. So SingleTop says it reuses the instance only if it is already on top. Otherwise, it creates a new one. The simple example I would say is, let's say there is a stack of ABC. Now, if you want to launch C again, and since C is already on the top, then it won't create the new instance, unlike the standard was doing it. Rather, it will keep on using the same instance and it will provide the new data. Alright, so that's how it does. Like Android colon name is news activity, and the launch mode I would define as SingleTop, because I don't want to keep on creating the new instances for the activity which is already on the top. That's how the SingleTop works. It's basically like someone knocking on your door. If you are already standing at the door, you just open it again, and you don't clone yourself and stand again. That's how you do, right? Like for example, notification example, let's say. So imagine news app. You tap a breaking news notification 3 times. You don't want 3 copies of the same article. SingleTop saves your life there. Alright, it will just give you the top one only. If the same article was already there on the top, it won't create another page or another I would say activity to load the same article on top of the last article. That's what the SingleTop does. Now we'll talk about SingleTask. So it says only one instance exists in the entire task. If it is already existing, bring it to the front. All the activities above it are cleared. Like the simple stack would be, example would be, before it was like ABC. Now I want to launch B. So it is a single task, because so it will clear off C and it will keep A and B. And in the XML file, you just add the launch mode as single task. I hope this is very much clear to you. What single task does is, single task is that strict parent who says एक ही बार बोलूँगा and only one instance is allowed. So if the activity is anywhere in the entire stack, Android clears everything above it and brings it to the front. The layman example, I would say is like, if you are scrolling the Instagram and then WhatsApp and then YouTube. So if you press home button and reopen Instagram again, it returns to the same old Instagram instance. It doesn't create the new ones each time, unlike it does in case of a standard. Alright, it will make use of the same instance and it will destroy or clear off the stacks which were on top of that particular activity. So that is what single task is. Now we will talk about single instance. So it says lives alone in its own task. No other activities join the task, used for very special cases. Like stack example would be, let's say there is a task 1 ABC and then there is a task 2 video call activity. So if this video call activity has to be added on top of it, instead of adding in the same task 1, it will create another task, video call activity, and this activity would be remaining there on the task 2 only, separated by the task 1. And how to write in the XML manifest file is, you define launch mode as single instance. Okay, so single instance, basically it is your friend who says I need my own room, I don't prefer roommates. Okay, single instance is used when you need a completely isolated activity like a floating call screen or a secure payment gateway. You don't want to combine or you don't want to share that stack of activities or list with another activity. You want it your own separate activity. That is the place you would make use of single instance. Okay, so layman analogy, most important thing is to understand and to always remember what is what and how to use which one. Standard is basically opening a new browser tab each time. No matter if the browser was already open, you will open or you will end up opening another tab. SingleTop, if the tab is already open and on the top, then you reuse it. That is correct. Single task, only one tab allowed for that particular site. So if the tab was already open but there are no more new tabs on top of that last tab, it will destroy those tabs and it will use the same tab from the stack. Single instance is open site in a separate window altogether that no one else enters into. So this is the slide I want you all to screenshot. Browser tabs equals to best analogy for launch modes, and this is what you will always remember, which mode has to be used when and what is the major difference between all 4 modes. And guys, this is one of the most frequently asked interview questions in Android, like what are launch modes and what are the different categories, which one to use when, and what are the real-time examples. Alright, so now when to use what? You use standard for normal screens. Okay, SingleTop, for example, notifications or detailed screens, if it is already there on the top, you will use the same one. Single task, dashboard, home screen, where you would remove rest of the fragments or activities from top and you will reuse the same from the existing stack. Single instance, very isolated, special workforce. Alright, so that's what if you misuse launch modes, your back stack becomes a horror movie. Always remember that you have to be very careful while you're using the stacks, while you're using the launch modes. Okay, so the final thoughts: launch modes are not tricky, they just need the right story and a simple analogy. That is absolutely right. You should remember your use case, you should understand first, and based on that only you should decide which launch mode to use and how to use. Okay, so if this video guys if this video has helped you, do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and your support inspires me to make more Android content. And if you still feel confused, just drop a comment, I will reply to all of them. All right, I'll see you in the next video.